And welcome to Inside the Program on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm your host, Justin Wells. With me, as always, my co-pilot, Eric Nalin, managing publisher at Inside Texas. Listen, we got a ton of stuff to talk about in very little time. Eric, we're going to go team big today. That's what Inside the Program's about, but we're also going to finish it up with some recruiting. Also, please like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Help us keep climbing. We're going for that 7,000 subscriber mark. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to talk about the schedule going forward in the team as they're heading into spring break. The combine heroes, Steve Sarkisian used those guys as an example this week. A little bit of 7-on-7, a couple transfers we need to mention, and then we got a nice little interview we're gonna show you guys at the end of the episode. And so I'm gonna jump right into it. My son's in spring break mode already. He knows he gets out of school early today. He's been talking about it for 4 days. I guarantee you these players have been working hard. They've got to work out today. Then they're going to scatter. What's the latest on that schedule?
Yeah, my boy's already sitting on the couch right outside. I'm urging him to be quiet so we can get through this. But, yesterday was their last team run. That was a celebratory feeling in the locker room after that. The team run is kind of a culmination of team agility drills and just the hardcore part of the winter offseason workouts. And so they got through their last one of the previous few weeks, and they were quite happy. They know that they can almost taste spring break. The sand is in the air. The ocean air is permeating throughout the locker room. They've got one more workout that's probably taking place right now, I believe. And then they're off. They're off until Sunday the 17th. They return on the 17th, get together as a team, have a team meeting, talk about what's expected of them the following weeks. Monday is a lift and a run. That's the 18th and 19th. They start practice. So it's that first week won't be in pads, but they'll be running around, getting after it. There's going to be a lot of popping, even though they can't go to the ground. They'll be full of energy. It's exciting. Between football returning for spring break, for spring practice and recruiting, I think we got a little bounce in our step right now.
You know who else has some bounce in his step is Steve Sarkisian. He's the birthday boy today.
Ooh.
Our man, it's his birthday on March 8th. He also shares a birthday, I just learned, with my ex-wife.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't really know how to read that.
Yeah.
Other than one is a lot better as a football coach in Austin than the other. The thing that Sark does really well, Eric, is that he uses current things for motivation. He's always pulling from different angles. And it was brilliant of him this week. He started talking about the combine and the guys how they performed, but it wasn't so much how they performed. It was what they did for the program. Yeah. It was the sacrifices that a lot of those guys made. When you send 11 guys to Indianapolis, that's a big deal. Eric, go into detail a little bit about how Sark used the combine and some of those guys for his advantage.
Yeah, I think first order thinking would have you saying, hey, look, just believe in the process like those guys did and you'll be fine. That's what I think a lot of coaches would do. But what he did he said, hey, for every guy that went to Indianapolis, there's an example in this locker room of what that guy went through. So if they can do it, you can do it. Jordan Whittington battled through injuries. Xavier Worthy experienced a ton of success as a freshman, had his struggles as a sophomore year, then had a good bounce back year. Jatavian Sanders, how little did he play as a freshman? He was only on special teams, not a single reception. And 2 years later, he's off to the NFL. T'Vondre Sweat was almost off the team a time or two. I mean, that guy, he did not buy in. It took him a little bit to buy in, but once he did, obviously he won the Outland Trophy. He's about to go in the first or early second round. So I think Sark was very wise to use those examples, not as a success of hey, look, we developed these guys, we're the heroes. It's, hey, if these guys can go through it, they have that adversity, they battled through it, look where they are now. You can do it too. So don't get dismayed if you battled injuries. Don't get discouraged if you didn't play as much as a true freshman. If they did it, you can. And 3 of those guys were back around the program this week: Sweat, Worthy, and Mitchell. And so they got the heroes welcome, like I mentioned. It was a pretty celebratory locker room on behalf of the success that their teammates experienced in Indianapolis. And now I think the way that Sark used it, I think really got the players' attention. And it's uplifting when the coach uses it that way instead of saying, "Hey, look, I got these guys where they are at." It was real smart the way that Sark played that chess.
And that's why we think one of many reasons why Sark is the guy. He figures out he's so good at, he's transparent. He figures out different buttons to push.
Yeah,
Sark's just got a good beat on this program, and we talked about it in the live stream on Wednesday. It's his voice. That's
Yep.
where it starts and stops, and I think that's the biggest thing. Right, real quick, we want to pay the bills and tell you about Andre the lawyer. If you ever get injured, if you're ever in a pickle, if you're ever in a situation where you've got to have someone, Andre the lawyer is your guy. Call him at 214-444-8808. He's going to help you with any injuries, on the job injuries, slip and falls, anything with workplace, 18-wheeler accidents, anything that where you find you're in a bad spot. Give Andre the call. Longtime Longhorn, big time inside Texas guy. Please give Andre the lawyer a call at 214-444-8808. Eric, just a little bit of 7-on-7 this week, kind of getting a little bit ready for it.
Yeah.
We had heard that there's a few things going on, not a whole lot, but what was the gist of what you had posted this morning?
Yeah, the last 2 Wednesdays, they've had this sort of informal 7-on-7, and we call it informal because it's not nearly the pace that it often is. I don't think it's just not as intense. The purpose of this, yeah, you want to stoke competition a little bit, but you really want to get the guys back to making football moves, not weight room moves, not agility drill moves, but actual football moves. You want to stoke the competitiveness a little bit. But you also want to make it fun. 7-on-7 is fun for these guys. You go watch Saturday in any park in Texas, and there's probably a high school 7-on-7 going on, and the guys are balling out and having fun. I think that was part of it as well. But just to kind of get wide receivers and quarterbacks on the same page, the DBs get a chance to try new coverages that the coaches are already working to install. One standout we have heard in back-to-back weeks has been Isaiah Bond. He's one of the 3 transfers we'll talk about today. He just seems like he already knows the playbook. He's already making plays in 7-on-7. He's coming in with that maturity and speed, and he looks locked in and ready to go.
Bond probably watched the combine. He probably watched Xavier Worthy and
Sure.
Mitchell. And so Bond's going to be the guy in that conversation for fastest Longhorn next year. I guarantee you he's going to want to go for that. And so I love hearing that about Bond. There's two, Texas brought in a handful of transfers from the portal this offseason. There are 2 guys that we keep hearing a little bit more and more about when we talk to sources, and they're both on the defensive side, and they're both in impact positions. Let's talk about Tia Savea and Trey Moore and what they're doing so far to get acclimated to the team and to really earn the respect in that locker room.
Yeah, we'll start with Trey Moore. I was at a small speaking engagement yesterday in Houston, and one of my buddies was there, and he had been around some people that know some things recently, and he kind of even went higher than what we had said about Trey Moore, about him being a stud and showing out. The people he talked to raved about him. The sentiment on the team is if you watch the last 6 weeks of workouts, he's one of the 2 or 3 best players on the team. Maybe even the best player on the team. We know he's extremely explosive, works very hard, quiet, puts his head down. Still works like he has a chip on his shoulder coming from UTSA. I'm starting to get really excited about him. Obviously, I want to hear the number one thing that I'm going to look for is, hey, how does he do against these longer, more athletic offensive tackles? If he starts having some success in spring ball, then it's time to get really excited about him. But so far, early returns on Trey Moore are good. And one thing I have to always remind myself is when I'm start being a little bit skeptical, just because of the jumping competition. Hey, I've seen the guy play, and he is quick off the ball. There's no doubt about it. He's very well balanced. He's light on his feet. But Nick Saban wanted him, and Texas rolled out the red carpet for him. So those are 2 heavyweights going for an edge pass rusher that had 14 sacks last year. That's the bottom line of it. He's showing out. Tia Savea, very similar to what you had originally heard. We keep hearing the same things. He's a quiet guy, but very hard work and a beast in the weight room, very strong in the weight room.
Yeah.
Lower body strength is there. Obviously, playing defensive tackle, they're going to miss a lot of that lower body power that Byron Murphy provided. Tavondre Sweat's a whole different guy. Nobody can replace him. But if you can make up for the loss of Byron Murphy, at least to some degree, with Savea, I'm not saying he's going to be Byron, not saying he's a first-round draft pick. But if you can make up with him, and then if he can be a strong rotational piece, you're on your way to really making sure that that's not as big of a detriment that we thought defensive tackle might be.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these portal guys. We know how picky and that Sark can be with these guys. They have to be obviously fits in the locker room and in the culture, and that's why the portal can be so beneficial and yet dangerous. If you don't do it right, you can bring in the wrong guys. And so I love hearing about those other ones. We're gonna generally inside the program we cover the team top to bottom, and we're gonna talk a little bit today about recruiting, specifically in the Houston area with the defensive backs in the secondary. Both of us were on the road yesterday. I went to a track meet where my guy guy was under the weather and
Wait,
didn't actually make it.
we have to talk about this. This is like the recruiting bloopers because I had a similar episode. So tell them what happened to you.
So, I was headed to Lobo Relays in Longview to watch Zion Williams from Lufkin. And Zion texts me 15 minutes before I get there to say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you I'm sick and I stayed home today. I'm real sorry. Okay, well, you know what? That happens. That's part of it. I reassured him that everything was cool, just to get some chicken soup, get some rest. He's got a track meet next week. I'll probably come out there and come see him.
Yeah.
It happens, Eric. It
Yeah.
happens. You had something similar as well.
Yeah, I was over in Summer Creek at Turner Stadium to watch some track, and I was looking around South Summer Creek there, and I remembered that Chad Woodfork, the edge from Summer Creek, runs track. He runs the 100, the open 100. And so I got caught up talking to some other players and coaches, and I started to leave, and I forgot to check my text message that I had out to Chad, and I had gotten out of the school traffic because I was leaving right as school was exiting. There's 300 buses like in that Batman.
Oh.
It's like Batman when the Joker's leaving out of the bank. There's buses everywhere. I'm stuck in traffic. I get on the other side of it, and I check my phone, and I'm like, oh, man. So I circle back. It's a long-ass walk to the stadium. But I love Chad. I wanted to see Chad and get the latest on him just to kind of, figure out what's going on with Texas. Obviously, I think the final chapter's probably been written on that recruitment. I don't think he's going to end up at Texas. I'll go in a little bit more on that at IT. But great kid. I'm glad I made the return walk. It felt like a little bit of a goodbye of sorts. But, yeah, talking about Houston DBs, Justin, you had a good you noticed something pretty good, smart where the DB class could be made up of all Houston players if you look at who they're looking at.
Yeah, and we've seen this before, but it's just always interesting when one position group comes from kind of the same region. In some instances, we've seen multiple guys from the same school. In this one, it's a lot more spread out, from Dorian Brew to Cade Phillips to Caleb Chester to Kobe Sellers to Cortland Gullery. These are any Texas fan would be happy with that kind of a haul. And I think Texas is in a great spot. You've seen all those guys at some point in the last few months. What was the latest from Cade Phillips and his trek at Hightower?
Yeah, we're going to leave that to the video, to the interview, and I'm going to have to apologize for the quality of the video. It was a little windy. It seems like every track meet I go to is windy, and it was a little low tech. But we are going to be up in our game on the technical side, so we can bring more interviews to the channel. But Cade is just he's a little, obviously on video, it's a little bit different than when you talk to them in person. That you get a camera on somebody. We're examples of that. Well, you're not, but I am. That your personality doesn't always come out. But that kid, he's a highly favored kid, man. I mean, he's got Stanford after him. He's long jumping 24.7.5. I think he said it's the second number 2 in America. He's running under 22 seconds, which is a benchmark. He's running under 400. He's running under 50 seconds in the 400, another benchmark. And then he's a two-way player in football. He's 6'2", 180 pounds. I mean, what is going on? They don't draw him up like this. I was upset Caleb Chester was not there. Another high-priority cornerback for Texas. He was not running track with Fort Bend Marshall. But when he said he wasn't there, he sent me a picture of him, and he was still at school, and he was in his UT gear, so he was pretty jazzed about that. So I think Texas is in good shape with Chester and Phillips especially. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the other guys, but let's let Cade Phillips take it away. Cade Phillips, not only a football star, but a track star. He's not long jumping today. First, why aren't you long jumping today, bud?
I got first place today. I jumped 24.2 today.
Yeah, he's what are you, second in the state? First in the state?
Second in the country.
Second in the country with a 24.7.5, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good. All right, let's talk a little football. Just catch us up on your recruitment. Which schools and coaches are you talking to the most, and who do you plan on visiting?
I've been talking to A&M, LSU, and Texas, Kansas, and Baylor, Stanford. But I'm gonna take my officials to UT, A&M, and LSU.
Got you. Would you say those are your top 3 right now?
Yes, sir. They up there.
What? How often are you talking to Texas?
On like an everyday basis with Coach Gideon.
Coach Gideon, do you ever talk to Coach Sarkisian?
Yes, sir. We've been texting, and then we've gotten on the phone before.
What about spring visit? We know you have some June officials. Are you tied up with track practice, or are you going to make some spring visits as well?
I'm going to try to get down to Baylor and Kansas, and then A&M. I'm going to go there, Texas, go to LSU unofficial, and then that's it.
Is everybody recruiting you as a safety? I mean, you've got offensive tape. You can maybe play corner with the athleticism. What's your preference?
I prefer to play corner, but I play whatever gets me on the field.
What are you looking for in a school outside of football?
Somewhere. I can get a good degree. Somewhere where after football I can get a good job. Live life.
One thing that jumps out when I look at your offer list, you got Stanford and Cal. I mean, it's that means academics probably mean something, huh?
Yes, sir.
Got you. When are you going to make your decision?
Definitely. I'm leaning towards July. That's when I'll make the decision.
Got you. That's a common spot. Well, hey, Inside Texas, we appreciate your time, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That was fantastic. We sure do appreciate you watching. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Thank you for watching the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.